Hello, 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 everyone. This is our fourth panel we've been hosting about the systematic racism. We'll be discussing that tonight. And our student leaders, both at Gallaudet University and at Rochester Institute of Technology, / otherwise known as RIT. So we want to talk about their experiences and things they've confronted. So we're just going to have a, open conversation, things that have triggered them, how their emotions have been kind of turned upside down. So we're going to have any filter. It's going to be very authentic about our experiences. And most of their experiences, obviously, in schools. So whatever they share, it's not to be any negative thoughts on a person. It's just an avenue for them to express fully with their fears and things of that nature going on. So thank you all for joining us. You are our student leaders. Go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, your school, your roles that you play at that school. So let's see who I'm going to pick to start first. Yolanda, you can go first. Okay.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Ford, and this is my third year. And so I'm an administrative tech support for Maryland, and that's one of my majors. That's what I'm studying.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go with JC.
Hi, hello. My name is JC. My role is a student, also support at BSU. One fact about myself is that I love to read the news and learn facts and just other things, things that are happening or in the world. It's just really something that I love to do.
Oh, wow, JC. So for people who don't know what BSU is, would you mind elaborating on that?
Sure, that's Black Student Union. It's changed to BSU before, but so now we just call it BSU, the Black Student Union.
Okay, very good. And next, Bobga, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, hello, everyone. My name is Babka Tete, and I'm from Maryland, born and raised in
Cameroon,
Africa. My third year majoring in civil engineering. And one thing fun about me is that I just love basketball. I love basketball. Oh, I just love it. I've traveled to 2 different countries, Rome and London. Oh, that's where I'm from in Africa. You can fly all around. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you for introducing yourself. And now, DM.
Hello, my name is Delricia. And so I'm a grad student. So at Gallaudet University. So one fact about me is that I love Black history. I love studying it, the passion, the journeys, all of it. Also, I am Black Asian as well.
Okay, wow. Thank you. It's really it's very inspiring to see you all here and have this discussion. There are a lot of people watching us right now from their homes, obviously, and some of them are at work in several different places. But thank you, everyone that is here that's joining us for this very thorough conversation about the issues going on, again, with systematic racism with our generation and our students that are in the schools now. So my first question, out of curiosity, so now with Gallaudet University, as opposed to the things that are going on in the administration majors and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that? I guess, you're a student leader, JC, so you want to go ahead with that one first?
Okay, sure. So really, my thoughts on that. really, I'm inspired that Gallaudet really needs to have a change around the social culture. And I just feel the students socializing with other students, the diversity is really not there. Um, there's a list of races, there's a variety of racism there. And when they called for change, it just really impacted Gallaudet University. And because Black people tend to be, kind of quiet and let things happen. So now this is the first time that we're seeing this big change now. We're seeing it. Um, so that's, exposure for everyone. And it's inspiring me too, to change things and go ahead. And I just feel, that change is definitely necessary.
Hmm. Thank you. Anyone else would like to go?
I would just like to add that I'm disappointed, in this change, to suspend KG. The last actions that were involved in the riots, they did have a conversation,
Mhm.
and it seems that they were not satisfied
And
with the
leadership.
leadership at all, and that the leadership services meant, oh, just a whole bunch of talk, but not really having any action. There was no action. It was just talk, no action. So it's like we were ignored, and we need more. We just kept, contacting them, but we're just not satisfied. For this change, they need to be listened to. They need to step up.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Yolanda.
So this administration change, this action to diversity that people do need, yes, but I feel that I'm just kind of tired of the BIPOC, like the Black, Native American, people of color, have really been contacting them. There's a lot of complaints, So Gallaudet University has kind of ignored these issues until now. And so finally making this change and having diversity more involved.
Hmm. Go ahead, Boba.
So I'm from Gallaudet, and my experience about
DPS.
yes, it was really applied to a Black person. So, and now, you know, I, now I'm hoping, to make more progress, to keep going, and not just for this time. You know what I mean? Not just for this time period, but for a long time of change. In the years ahead.
Okay, yes, thank you. So now I want to switch on to maybe about race and things that you've observed there that have been happening. Do you feel things have been positively changing? Boga?
I'll say that I feel we need more. Need more people of color, teachers. Um, you know, I was at the university as well, and for myself, the relationship with my teachers, when they're white, I just my school, I need that relationship with my teachers. It's really important, That's what I want the most, to see people like me. Um, and after I'm finished with my degree, having a lot of hearing teachers, but people of color, but having connections with them and relationships within the educational system.
Okay, great. Oh, Yolanda, did you want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was involved in the RIT dance crew, and there was a lot of people of color, yes, but at the same time, there was a lot of how do you say, hearing. There's a lot of it was like a hearing group, and so there was kind of a neglect of the deaf people, and so they weren't really aware of deaf culture because of there's a lot of students involved there in that group. So there's a lot of advanced, but I don't really feel that the other people like tap or jazz or all of that stuff at the same time, were more favored. So I just feel like it wasn't the right place for me. So I got involved in another dance crew, and that was so much better. It was more diverse, more signing, more friendly. It just was a better fit for me there. So RIT was
No, where you're saying you're then with your experience, it was kind of overlapping then, right? RIT and at the same time there, because the campus was all in the same area?
Yes. Yeah, RIT, there's a lot of hearing people there. And so NTID is for the deaf and hard of hearing. So that population. So when I was involved there, it was better than RIT.
I see, okay. Wow, yeah, that's tough. I mean, I can't imagine. So I mean, if you've noticed, as things have been going along with Gallaudet University, they've been hosting some town halls, and discussions have been happening. Now, you all at Gallaudet, ever since George Floyd passed, it's in the Black Lives Matter movement. Do you feel like, and that's been advancing, has the discussion at Gallaudet University increased? Anyone? Feel free to. Okay.
Oh, you're freezing a little bit.
Sorry, we have some bad signal here. Okay. So, well, what I was saying, ever since with the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement has really progressed and blossomed, have you noticed with the university, it has been hosting several town hall discussions about systematic racism. How do you feel that's impacted all of you as students?
Okay, so it's really impacted me hard because ever since George Floyd and Black Lives Matter movement has started, um, Gallaudet has been a little, taking action a little bit, but we have to remind them constantly to make actions. And I feel a little disheartened about that with the town hall. I've entered and I've watched. I want to see what they're going to change. Maybe I can do something with BSU um, and so I'm watching this conversation, and it's almost like 1 hour they've been talking, but there's really no action that's involved. How are you going to change this for the the Black deaf community, um, for the Black deaf people in the future, generationally to come? Like, what is going to change? I'm sitting and I'm watching for an hour, and I was very disappointed and disgusted. I just felt left out because I am a Gallaudet student and I'm struggling and I have frustrations and with teachers and with faculty and staff, with people that are white, supremacists and all this discussion. I have to work 3 or 4 times harder to get what I deserve
Mhm.
and to get my resources and educational tools and job opportunities and internships. Everything is difficult and there's more accountability, there's more of a load, and I'm working so hard and I'm asking Gallaudet to change. And I'm hoping that the town hall will have more change and it will address things. But, all of these town halls since I've really seen just talking, no action. And I just feel like ever since George Floyd and the movement has started, everyone's been doing a lot now. Why now? What happened to the people who died before George Floyd? Um, what happened to town halls at that time? Why now? Okay, and everyone's okay. George Floyd died. Okay, we're upset. Let's do something, and we're apologizing. But really, it's kind of like fake, and it's pissed me off and really disgusted me that they're doing these town halls, but it's really not getting anywhere. I've spent hours, but I've seen no action, just talking. Um, and they have power. They need to use their power and ask, for demands and ask for things. But I was hoping that it would happen, but ever since I've been watching and nothing's been happening. So we need to start from the beginning and still until waiting until the middle of the Black movement, Black Lives Matter movement starting and now responding to all of these things. The open letter that they sent, and I wish they would have done that in the beginning. Sent that open letter until now. So that's kind of what I'm feeling.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to
Alicia, you
add,
want to add? Go ahead.
for white deaf privilege, for example, for white deaf, academic doctors or doctorate students, they're focused on,
Black Lives Movement, but then you have to consider the queer, women,
they're forgotten about the Black American community and the deaf community and the Afrophobia
Afrophobia.
community. And that phobia has really impacted why we have this division. We're not saying how are we approaching this racism. For Black America, there's this white of privilege. Sorry, let me step back. Let me go back a little bit. It's all over Instagram and social media, and I just feel like we need to get rid of that. Give us the moment. It's in our veins. And I understand that where they're from. If you come to America and you face racism every day, no matter what, no matter where you go, white people are supreme. They're above us, and it's just like you're Black, period. White people can look down on us, automatically think, but we're Black. So it's division that's hard on us. As a Black American, but as a whole, this world is a lot of, we need to come together. For that phrase, we need to be careful. It impacts us. And again, we don't have any privilege. None. That's how I feel.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I also wanted to mention too, you said about the xenophobia and Afrophobia. Myself, I am an international resident. I've been here for 15 years in America. But yeah, in some countries, say in Europe and other places in Africa, they have very strict policies on that type of thing in their school system. So you all are observing it firsthand here in America. And it seems like here in that kind of thing, it's okay. But as you all as future leaders, what's the advice that you can give to other student leaders now and to all people? Doesn't matter where they're coming from, how they can feel more connected within your school and how you can be, and everyone can be involved and included. Just any thoughts on that?
So welcome to injustice. It's happening. Your skin is darker light. That's natural. You have to feel comfortable. You have to have an education to live better. It's important. That leadership role, and we have to remember what that means. Black deaf children, we have to teach them slowly along the way. When we're older, we say thank you later. That's what I mean, that leadership, that fight for it, and not give up and stick to that point.
Okay, go ahead, JC. Did you have another comment?
So everyone, no matter where they're from, where they grow up, their background, their experience, their life stories, they're welcome. We would like to see more variety, like where you're from and cohesiveness, working together and making a change. And like I said before, we're all human. It's just a different skin color. We're all the same. Our bodies are the same. Our skin is different. And I think it's time for all of us to stop this division, and ignoring and all these people. We need to work together because at the end of the day, we're all we get. If we die, that's it. Why not start now and coming together and unifying and having these discussions to make change and helping each other? Stop rejecting others and being like two-faced. We need to stop that. We need to work together and have this discussion really and, get to the heart of the matter and understand each other's feelings and what we need to say and what organizations, we can't disagree with. Oh, no, it's just, fighting for BLM. Oh, some of us are saying, "Oh, I like this. I like this. I prefer that. I don't like that." And they're kind of having this fight, but it's the same path. It's impossible. You have to, you know, coincide and have unity with everyone, and we're all fighting on the same path. So that's just kind of what I'm feeling.
And Dorisi, I want to add to what JC just commented. The people need to listen. That is very important. You can't just shun and cast people off to the side. Everyone has something to say. You need to listen. Oh, your background, okay, and we can have that exchange of information. Everyone, we can't all be the same. We all come from different backgrounds and cultures, but it's very important to listen and then learn. Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else want to add a comment? Olga? So, as a student, obviously, sometimes you feel like you can only do so much, but still, don't just label. I have awareness. I've lived here in American education. I've been exposed to things as well, so I have an understanding. But that's how we can make change. We have to support that. But again, I agree with what she was saying. That support and that listening. Thank you. Yolanda, no, anything else? Okay, so now we're going to get a little deeper with all of this. So all of your personal experiences with racism, specifically at your schools where you are all attending, have you have any of those experiences thus far you'd like to share? Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to say, this kills me. Okay, so one white student, we studied together, and I got a consequence. They thought that I cheated, but I didn't. And to be honest to the teacher, I would be honest if I did something, but I found out that they're a deaf family, and the teacher is a white teacher from a deaf family. And it's kind of like the same sorority, you know what I mean? It's like they favor each other. And I got a consequence, academic probation, and I fought for this. That white student was really, well, they kind of got away with this. They're going to graduate soon. And I'm just so almost traumatized by that. Not angered, but I'm humble. I will win this fight. I'm not going to give up. Yes, I did give up a few times, but I'm going to keep pushing on. My wife and my two Black,
Lindsay Dunn
and Carolyn McHill,
Carolyn McCaskill,
have fought for me, and they believe in me. That's why I'm inspired. I'm not going to give up. I'm a Black female role. Oh no. I'm going to fight for this. I'm not alone. And people have my back. So, that's really what hurts me. Like in the classroom, I notice like the white students and the people of color. I notice that, oh, they're, raising their hands. But the people of color, the Black people, oh, the teacher finally gets their eyes later on to those students. Last. You have to think about that and process. Sometimes I feel,
Yeah, I just feel like, all of that has to change, that process of things. Enough is enough. It's just like a constant fire brewing inside. But even still, I still go through everything with a smile. Thank you. But what did you want to add something?
Yeah, my
Yes. Oh,
experience.
go ahead.
And I've realized that, wow, as a student, for my seventh year, for my experience, whew, when I entered the School for the Deaf, I was very excited, meeting a lot of people and friends. I was very excited. There's like a white group of people, and it was very obvious that there was a black group of people, so I joined that group. Um, I understand, like, what was wrong with that. I never understood. Okay, I just kept going along with the flow, but we need more interaction with people, like you said, with from different backgrounds and different, people that are from different places. We really need to come together, and I just feel like it's, hard for that to happen. I have one black deaf friend, and there's a lot of white people, and they've lost interest in, a lot of teachers are white, and so I just kind of feel like, I can't really connect to them at times. So that's, there's many things, but that's kind of one point for me.
So, research. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to give an example. So, like in the South, Alabama, and our signing style, we have an attitude. People know when they see me. But when I came to Gallaudet and I was signing, and I felt like everyone was just looking at me funny, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? I had to take a moment to think, like, oh, I have to change. But it's kind of like tearing my heart and my soul out. That's who I am. So we have, prejudice against sign as well. Yeah, so I have to, take a breath and, I'm trying holding my breath actually. But like, come on, man. Like, I want to say what I want to say. But again, so that was a very challenging part. It's kind of like part of the game. Like, yeah, what's up, man? But then I have to remember, like, oh, hold on. I have to hold
Coach,
that part of my personality in. But at another university, I could have that conversation freely. My challenge there was a little different. It's like, oh, people, and I remember when I got to Gallaudet and I noticed that and I mentioned to other people, and it's, yeah, welcome to Gallaudet. It made me feel a type of way. It's kind of like, yep, welcome to Gallaudet University. That's it. No one's going to do anything. No one's going to speak up. So then I decided on my own to make my own fight and stand up. So that's, what I've been doing.
wow, that's difficult. Anyone else, JC, you want to add?
So I
I
grew up in the South, so as a Black teacher, at school. So I grew up, from going to school from kindergarten to my senior year in high school. And everything that was being taught to me was by white instructors, white teachers. My gym teacher, all the subjects, they were white. And I remember the dorm staff, they would be Black and deaf. And, we talk with them and chat with them and just remember just kind of reminisce on different things. I have in a high school class. And we're talking about Christopher Columbus. Now he found America and slavery at that time. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so again, he founded America. And that kind of planted the seed in my head. There's no back history before him. No, okay, so how, they don't talk about how the Native Americans were there and how these things happened before. That was never addressed. Only surface information I noticed in my social studies class, my history class back then at that time. So you connect almost slavery with civil rights, but again, very surface information. And then like later on in the week, we were on a topic and I started delving a little deeper into that information. I found out my own history and things and how we were fighting and Martin Luther King and the marches but I learned that, but the marches,
In eighth
And
grade.
yeah, in 8th grade. And I just remember saying like, hey, okay, well, the marchers, we're fighting, civil rights, but no one's ever expanded on that. That's part of history. Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, the list goes on and on of Black people that were advocates for their culture and their people. But no one that those things weren't brought up. It's just all like kind of white sprinklings. And I went to the library one time and I spoke to her as a Black woman that was there, and she gave me a book, and I just was reading and reading, and just the more I read, the more disgusted I became. And when I went to Gallaudet, I felt like it was all happening again. Just whiteness. And it's just everywhere. And I figure, okay, so I need to find my own circle of friends while here on this campus. I have friends from the South. They're completely different from people from the North, but we still all intermingle. And it doesn't matter. We just hang out, we pick on each other, have a good time. But then at Gallaudet, still, it's just just a different environment. You kind of figure out, okay, where do I go? Where do I fit in? I play football. So I had my group of friends with the football team. But again, it was still cliques. So far with my 3 years being at college, and I haven't really seen anything change in that nature. Go to a party, there's different cliques. When you're studying, there's different cliques. There's different leadership groups, they're clicked off as well. So I've seen all these separations and this divide. It's very obvious. But so it's given me a lot of perspective. But again, the education of a Black teacher. I remember my first Black professor at Gallaudet University. As a Black professor, wow, okay. So I kind of really wanted to chat with that professor often and ask him why these certain things are happening and this is wrong, or this white person did this to me or said this to me and we need to fix it, and learning how to go about fixing and making that change. So my Black professor, I relied on him heavily for some leadership and mentorship, because other ones, they're scared to speak about that, other professors, and share that information, kind of gloss it over, like, oh, and just give you little tidbits here and there. But my Black professor would give me knowledge, give me books, share things with me. So that was my perspective on that.
Yeah, for myself, going to a school for the deaf growing up, you know, it was difficult. They taught American history, for example.
Robert E. Lee.
Oh, yeah, okay, he fought for the Civil War. Okay, but what about the Black woman? There was only one teacher she was hearing, and when I came into the classroom, she closed the door and explained so much to me. I was in the 6th grade.
Wow.
And ever since then, I've known that in the South, in the North, the West, East, it doesn't matter. It's important. The Black and the deaf, it's important to teach that, you know, than just kind of like to wash over what you're teaching these children. And like in the textbook, there's not enough exposure to the Black history. But we don't have the resources, the Black deaf culture, the Black leadership. It's not there. It's like we're clueless about it. And unfortunately, that's really sad. We need more exposure, more books to learn and grow and be prepared for the future.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Can I add to that? Do you mind? Go ahead, JC.
So in my high school, my teacher exposed me to a lot. Um, it became something different in college, and you're going to go to college? Okay, great. And so my mind was set. I'm only good for sports. My education I'm not so sure about. And so I kept going along, but my academics, there was really no support for that. Only for sports. And I just felt conflicted about that. Where was the help? They wouldn't help me with the academics. I was frustrated with that. And I was just kind of stuck in this white system. I was stuck, you know, trying to get in as a Black person, but I just kept, getting stuck. And at Gallaudet, same thing, stuck. Where was like the open door for Black students to get all the resources that they need to be equal to the white students. Where is that? It's like we have lower reading there. Okay. Oh, lower math, not good education. But you need to invest in that with the students. And that's just kind of what I'm feeling.
And at Gallaudet, I've noticed a problem. How do I say this? The white students, they're teaching, but they're teaching the Black students reading the same things. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, maybe some new information or no, but the Black students are like, wait a minute, no, this is frustrating. Come on, like, and then they're learning things, but then they're failing repeatedly or a higher percentage. If they're asking for a tutor or they're asking for some help, can you make some time for me? They're asking their professors, and it's like, oh well, I'm busy, so sorry, my schedule. I mean, you could do it yourself, and like, but you said you have visiting hours or office hours, and I'm trying to make the effort, and I feel like we just get shunned to the side, and it happens often. So, but then you have to remember, again, where different people are from. You just have us sit down and talk with us. Maybe ask me where you're from. What's your background? So you can figure out a best way that will match helping me. Like, oh, but it's just people are so naive, and you never suggest, ask why. If someone is struggling, figure out a way to help that person. Like, or Black staff, you don't have enough teachers. So I feel like that is a problem that we're confronted with now.
Okay, so I'm curious. Babka, you know, as an international student, you know, what are you seeing? Okay.
Okay. Well, Yolanda, did you want to? I saw you had your hand up there. Okay, go ahead. I have a
So
personal story. Go ahead.
I can say like I'm a dancer. Um, and back in high school, my sophomore year, I expected dance to be diverse. So we had auditions to try out. We were lined up, giving enough space. And the teacher went up to the front and I let them know that I love modern, it's more like jazz dance. And so the teacher said, to follow the moves. Okay, so we're all following. And I stood in the front. And so I'm following the dance moves. And then the teacher looked at us and we're following again. And he pointed out and said, "You're wrong." And I'm looking around. Who, me? Yes, you. Okay, let me see the move again. Okay. And I did it. No, 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 no. And so, that time I kind of was a very kind of passive student. So at the moment, I didn't really speak up for myself, even though I should have. Um, and so, that move, I have to follow that move exactly, perfectly. But I can't be perfect. It's just dance, just a student. And then the teacher assumed and they thought, that I had an attitude, because of my facial expression. But I said, no, I don't have an attitude. It's just, my face, my family, they raised me and they've taken care of me. And, it's just my expression. That's all. It's how I typically have my facial expressions. But I'm not giving you an attitude. And they decided to move me to the back. And so I was like, okay, fine. I went to the back. And then the final audition to pick for her dance, we lined up. She was looking and she picked two. Well, so she knows that I wanted to be involved in that dance because modern was really my passion, that everything. But they decided not to pick me over those people. So because I was Black, or you should have diversity. So anyway, I kept going, and then the junior year and senior year, I finally got like the advanced spot. Meaning I was in the front, I was leading, I was involved in the activities. But I was my senior year, and I was involved in a lot of different dances. So But the year before, I would never forget that moment. They put me in the back because of my attitude, but it's just my culture, to be expressive, not, you know, but they assumed, they made that assumption, those groups.
Interesting. Go ahead, Boca. I noticed with myself as well before I was in school, and I was at school, and I kind of had to like almost lose some of my black identity, just kind of just go along to get along. And then my junior year, and
I learned more about Black culture and my identity, and an African student as well. And I really appreciate, don't lose your identity. Don't let the white people tell you, oh, no, 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 no. Think about your identity first. You are a Black person first. Second, you're deaf. That's all.
mhm, wow. Okay, so let's go on to our next question I have here. So we have been seeing people, people that are transgender, LGBTQ community, and also being oppressed. And there are deaf people and students within those communities, people with disabilities. Any of you observed any of that kind of oppression of people in those variant communities at your campuses? Yolanda?
So, in general, school can be a tough environment for students, yes. For sexual exposure and identity, um, I just feel like it's unwelcome for those students. So, that policy is not really, spread out about the LGBTQIA youth. Those students are continuing to get bullied or discriminated by people. And, for now, it's finally having like a safe environment. Yes, for example, my first year when I got into college at RIT, I had no label. I just am who I am. And I could see a lot of people looking around. And then I found out that pansexual, what that means, a person who has a good personality, and that's really it's just loving them for their heart. So for me, I'm happy that I have a lot of family members who are part of that community, and I feel good with that. So, so before high school, there was really no person to say like, who I am, like a boy, or they would bully me for that, or I just am who I am. So for now, I'm finally showing who I am. I'm a Black, deaf female, pansexual. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that experience as well. Okay. Now, some of you maybe have been involved or different relationships of mixed race. Now, with the Black Lives Matter movement, what kind of conversations have you been having at your homes or at your schools or with friends?
So really, my wife and I, she's Hispanic from Guatemala. And, yes, Black strong, I remember. So I'm half Asian as well. But the Black family adopted me. And so really biologically Asian as well. So, and my wife has said, that's true. I kind of forgot about that one side as well. And so we've had this discussion, but it's really important, to have that connection. Because imagine, my father, his history, friends, and my son, and my wife, her too, her children too. She's a parent. It's made me think as well. this movement is supporting, if I should support this movement. But, we've had this discussion for almost 3 days in a week. And, we've going back and forth, but, we have to think about others too. So it's tough, to have that conversation and how she feels. And, to really honor that Hispanic side and what they've gone through. Very similar to our movement, but in America, we notice, black and white. That's kind of the commonality.
Mm-hmm. Anyone? Anyone want to add to that? JC?
My great, go ahead.
My great aunt, she was like almost like within the civil rights, but very related with that. And at that time, I think she said she was about 13 or 14, and she wasn't allowed to vote. And that was a common thing. No one could vote, person of color. And my grandfather and her, and they marched, and they walked themselves 20 miles. And they wanted to vote. And my grandfather was the first person to actually register to vote. That really impacted my generation's history. When they were saying with the Black Lives Movement, they could compare their time to now. The only difference is now there's more talk about it. It's more open dialogue. We have internet, we have access to different information. But at that time it was very different. It was just surviving, and they had to have these discussions when they could. And, they were forced to have to picket and carry signs and things of those natures. But again, we're learning from that. I keep that in the back of my mind. I feel like now it's no different from my great aunt's experience at that time and now. And I'm seeing it all again. I'm seeing it myself in this current time. So the comparison, it's very interesting. So we don't have really the right to compare, but it's just really, really, but her experience and the movement then, the movement now, and again at that time in that area, Black people, go shopping. They'll say we're going like in Walmart or somewhere, whatever, an older place, whatever, go shop then. And white people and Black people could not go to the same store. Like say now, that was illegal. It was prohibited. They get arrested. So you can only shop in this part of town for the Black populace for food or your clothing or everything that you need, a restaurant in one area of town. And that was just the normal. That's only for the Black. It was Black owned. So it's very different.
I would like to add, yeah, growing up again in Alabama, my grandma is Black. And I saw when I was a little girl in a small town, Unison.
Unison Spring.
But when I grew up, my grandmother from the country, there's a little gas station, and there was a white owner. And, so they were walking into the store, and they saw, and the white person turned around and looked at me, and they looked back. And there was a lot of chatter, and I was just kind of looking back and forth. And I remember my grandmother told me, remember, don't you ever, don't do it. Sorry, I missed that. So I tried to remember that. But it's kind of conflicting, how white people treat you, right? So my grandmother knew. My grandmother took care of that person's mother, and they would clean and, and back at that time. And it ended up that my grandmother's friend's son was a judge. And I loved my grandmother. Just remember that white people would have to treat you right. And I had a lot of respect for my grandmother. It made me, kind of.
Kind of hate. Yeah, I felt like there was a hate. How you are treating people that are around. And that's just, something, that's how we're confronted by racism every day. We want peace, we want equality. It shouldn't be based on our skin. We should just respect each other. Go ahead, Booker.
Just a short comment about my mother. She's always said to me, hey, be careful, when you're out of the house. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, as a Black person, um, wherever you go, something could happen right then and there. It's easy for something to happen because you're Black. That's it. So, I remember my mother's words. So they're really powerful for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Yolanda, did you want to add something to that? I would say, when you're planning going out, and that kind of thing has kind of happened as well. To me, it's really important that whenever we're outside with Black people, we have to be safe. We have to be wise with everything we do. Yeah, that's about it.
I have a question from someone who's watching right now in the chat. And the asked me is so in school and other Black deaf students or BIPOC students who have experienced racism or oppression, what can alumni who, used to be students who have graduated, what can they do to support you? At any school, or what could they do? What can alumni do to support you guys as students in what you're experiencing?
This is JC. Go ahead, JC. So what an alumni can do to support us as Black deaf students, I believe that could just be more involved in the deaf student community, more aggressive with their involvement. I mean, it's okay, please, we alumni, people who have graduated, you've already experienced this before. So be involved. Don't just after you graduate and that's it, you're gone. There's still students here and we're working to try and fix it. And we have these different situations, and killing us and things of that nature. You can help us. We don't want to just, please, we want you to be involved. We can talk to people that are higher ups at Gallaudet. The institution as it is. Follow up, maybe if you've mentioned something before. You want to see what the different criteria they have going on that they're trying to meet. Provide them maybe with some rules and some resources for Black deaf students. We have a right to uplift and approach and confront these issues. But it's more advisement. If you could be more involved, have that conversations with us, an open dialogue. Moving forward, so that will help us feel better and more safe. We have your support. We know you're involved, and you can that's investing in us as well. Yeah, so that's it.
I would like to add to JC. So one word, be involved, and it's necessary for the staff and the communities. Don't worry if we're going to be fired or if there's any kind of risk. It's okay. Be involved. It's important to the students to encourage them for their future, for their passion, to be involved and have discussions for those criteria. Don't worry about, as a student, what about my job and my family and that you might lose something, but you won't lose everything. We've got your back, that support. So please don't give up our passion. We need more BIPOC people, strong and invested in us. And don't be worried about I can't. No, you can do it. These students are screaming for help. So please go for it.
Okay, go ahead. And also with the Black students too, like just a Black person, it's really important maybe have a mentor, someone that has been exposed, maybe has a little more advice and or power. Like, a boy becomes a man, it's really empowering to know, for that youth's future, they know they have someone that they can depend on and talk with. Maybe they can host some workshops or meetings or just open discussions, some type of support like that. That's how we're going to make change. We have to make a little noise here. But again, like you said, we need to be more aggressive. Thank you.
Yes, and the word is space, white space and black space. We need to recognize that this white space, where are the Black people feeling comfortable? We need to be involved and let Black students, have a voice. And not only, the Black students, be the alumni in the community as well. Be involved. That's important in the space that you are in. Doesn't matter where you stand, have to express yourself.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Yolanda. So now also, if you see any issues, be sure to take note of it, jot it down. So then you have some evidence. We need evidence for change. We want that as well. We want immediate change. So anytime you see something that's happening, especially if it's habitual and it's ongoing, it's, again, all of us, we need to collaborate on that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now, the other question, like a follow-up question for, the two of you that you mentioned, Black faculty being afraid of being fired or losing their job. That could seem to be true, of course, and make that environment for us as well. But JC mentioned something important that said, to speak up and use your voice. How? Has it been easy for you to bring up your concerns to the university leadership? Have they listened or actions, or is it typically difficult and a challenge for you to bring up those issues to be listened to?
Okay, well, myself,
As a grad student, GSA, before I was a chairperson of a communications. Dr. Roberta Bobby, we call her. I remember one conversation. I told her the last comment. I don't know if she heard me or not. But one law. And I said, I understand, but you don't understand how I feel. My pain, my disappointment, my journey. And you're listening to other students. And she just kind of answered and went off the point. But I kept bringing, my concerns. But, there was just talk. There were no action. So I just felt ignored and neglected. Felt like there was, really no approach to this situation. One step for change, and feel inspired. Oh, we did it. No, that wasn't there. Just, and again, just.
It's like just a quick pause. Like, okay, well, can you focus? Like, just kind of ran by it. All the things that we've done, we've had to confront all this time. And again, just keep sweeping it under the rug. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, my mistake. But that action, that in that moment, that, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But that's just one fact. We need more action. It's just not kind of just like, oh, everyone just kind of woofs out thing. No, we have to feel it. You don't feel what I feel. So yeah, that's some words there.
Thank you. Anyone wanted to add? JC?
JC,
to me, we have to kind of collect evidence and resources and proof where that you can use and say to bring it up to the university. And it's important to have evidence. It's important to have things written down from different students, things that you hear. You have to document things, and, statistics, and bring that to them. Bring that to the university. And the university will, maybe be more likely to hear it and listen to those things. And the students have found these resources. They found all these things. Oh, wow. Um, for some students, it's more likely, when they fight against the university sometime, one day to make that decision and just give up. I'm like, okay, but it's important to keep going and be consistent no matter what happens. And you might feel like, you've gotten your chance and you've been denied and you feel like you failed, but no, keep going. You don't know what tomorrow, is promised. So keep fighting, keep going on, speak up, keep using your voice. Everyone has a voice. So it doesn't matter, how low it is or high powerful it is. You just have to find all this information and use it against the university or your school or organization. It's important to use that to challenge them and speak from your heart. That's what matters the most, to speak from your heart. And you feel that we need to have change. And you have the right to have it, to do it, to have action. And everyone has the right to approach the university and ask for them to meet these criteria and these policies. And for other resources, if they're not meeting your needs and professors, you have the right to challenge them. It will work out. It will.
Well, I want to add on what JC just mentioned with Black students and that due process. We have to, the way, we have to fight. We need to lead. People have no idea, while at the same time we are students and things we've been through. And just to just kind of push us to the side, like, it's more fighting and more things, and they're not going to help me. And a lot of people want to give up. And a lot of students, they leave or they go get home and they have thoughts a while to think about the things that have been going on.
GPA,
Yeah.
financial problems, all of these different things. They don't know. And they don't know how to do due process, how to start, how to solve these things, how to save us and give us a chance to stay in school. You don't realize that. Black students are almost clueless on how to, most of us need those tools to really advocate. Most Black students, with English isn't that great, but, filling out forms and approaching people on how to start and how to fight. So that could be a problem as well. And the students just seem to be afraid too.
Okay. I do have another question. What the NBDA does have. And Black Deaf leadership at your schools, are they doing enough to provide you all the resources and tools you need? Say trainings, when you need some help and advocacy for yourself and you feel stuck. Are they providing that? Or the different programs, is there enough? Is it like once in a while, once a week, every couple weeks? But what can NBDA as an organization do to support and advocate you all as students and going forward? Any ideas? Okay.
So I'll speak. This is Bobdika. So every institution really you need to speak with, because for myself, my experience in high school being deaf, I really didn't have that much. Um, and so I wanted to know more about being a Black deaf person and advocating for that until my senior year is when, I learned some information and I wish it would have been before that. But the school itself there's a lot of white people and, I was exposed to some Black students. I wasn't exposed to a lot of Black students, so that was part of the problem. They need to make some changes to let NBDA have, come to the school more and show up more, have more workshops, more resources, things like that.
And I also want to add to that, NBDA, yeah, they need to have workshops. I know they have them often, but what about, for students? BDA, what is that? NBDA? They don't know much about that. Like NTID, they know about that one. That's more common. It's like an automatic but thing that people would know. But NBDA has been around for many years, but they're not exposed enough. You know, the workshops, they can have those anytime. That is a way, like I said, from elementary school, middle school, high school. So when they get to college, they're already aware and they're prepared. They're already ahead of the game. That's another university challenge. You get there, you have to learn it in the moment and figure it out. So if they were aware a little bit before, that would be great.
CJ,
JC?
JC. So I would like they should provide, I don't know, maybe like every 2 years, like a big conference that everyone can go to, or maybe every year or once a year they should provide camp where, Black people can come in, Black deaf students can come, and they can learn at this camp about advocacy and leadership and use, what tools I can use to improve studying and reading and comprehension and leadership and mentorship. All these different things should be provided. Workshops, more workshops, really being invested in pulling in different leaders from outside in the community. There's many, people that you can invite in to come and teach so that students can learn and really retain all of this information. And, giving us a book to read and all of those different approaches and those situations. If something happens, with like law or law enforcement or cops and like what to do with those situations, or at school situations with policies and how we can address those situations. And in the university, how we can solve situations, that we can become self advocates for ourselves and we know how to challenge the system and beat the system. I think if you could provide like an every year summer camp where we can really get into this and say, oh yeah, we really need that and use that information against them to use all of these tools and apply it for our future too, for future jobs, employment, um, things that you might experience at the job, different situations. It would definitely be a benefit for Black deaf students and benefit the students because in high school and college, they're learning all of this. And then grad school, they're getting a little bit more comfortable with it, with what to do and how to figure things out and how to give some examples, of advocacy. If something happens um, with the government or whatever might happen in some deaf circles, they might want to have a job in the government someday or in law or some become a doctor or what, different avenues. They need to, know how to do advocacy for themselves for the future every day, all day, not just asking someone else, but knowing how to do it for ourselves, being able to interact.
Okay, great. Very good. Oh, go ahead, Doricia.
And to set some kind of where we can feel safe, have a safe space, and really get this out and vent and have brainstorming and, really talk about this thing. And to address this attitude, we can not really have an attitude and fight with each other, but really figure out how we can jump kind of to the top, how we can take it step by step. And that will, lead us. I agree with that. Yes, that training and how to fight and not give up. And I really agree with what JC said.
Okay, great. Yolanda? Well, in my opinion, I think all schools, deaf schools, whatever schools, um, I think they really need to have a Black program, an annual, 2 or 3 times a year, maybe they have it, with someone that has had certain experiences like with racism or brutality, but their experiences so far. And that person can come and speak with students from a firsthand experience, and the students can feel like, okay, and they're taking something away from it and they're learning. And as they're learning, they'll start to have their own thought processes. But, we need to know more about Black people and our experiences. And it can be more spread and shared. But that exposure, like, oh, yeah, racism or race, then they can identify and they can speak on if it's happened to them or how to recognize it. But they need to be knowledgeable of what to do and how the culture is.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, Babka. So really support this organization for NBDA to recognize and noticing, just have more support and recognize that.
Yeah, hopefully NBDA will, just some words, no, we really need some advocacy. We need that support to lift us up. I really expect that from NBDA. Thank you for that, JC.
And so I think we need more support on Black, sponsors, around in the deaf community, more sponsorship, and focus on internally, supporting each other, businesses, and, supporting and bringing in money and having us as a team and being included and being more knowledgeable of deaf culture and the Black culture and really progressing in that way. I think we need more exposure to those things.
Okay, very good. Okay, anyone else? We've got about 10 minutes left, I think. Time is going really fast. So let's see. Someone is asking, what do you all know about
Ebony Club letter?
many different ways of racism and favoritism, nepotism? Do you want to share anything about that? Do you all know anything about that?
Okay, unfortunately, it's not widely noticed. We often, post things, there's workshops, not many people show up. So it's hurtful to see that. And we're not provided resources or workshops or sponsorships, exposure to people who are aware of Ebony Club. And, we have short, not a lot of staff, and we need more Black students involved. So, that's just how I feel, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Yolanda, you want to add? Also, talking about that Ebony Club, I've also noticed myself, every time, say if I was involved in a deaf people of color organization, the workshop, I can't think of it. But anyways, I was involved, and we would kind of advertise a lot. We'd really put it out there, but also, trying to ask people to please get involved, join our club. We're looking for more people of color. And some people are because it's a lot of just lecturing, someone just speaking at you. And we're trying to tell them, no, if you're involved, you can express yourself too. That's how you become involved as well. But also we try our best to do the best that we can. We just need more, we definitely need more promotion of those type of things. And the Ebony Club, they have a partnership with RIT or something?
Yeah, it's
Or
a
am I
partnership
wrong?
with the Hearing Black Association committee, that supports that committee. At RIT, they have partnered together and set up a workshop. And it's been successful. More people have come in. That's been great. And we've noticed, that they've had, more sponsorship but we've had less. So other clubs, they have more plans that kind of sometimes conflict. Then they have more people than ours. So we have to decide to hire another person that's more recognized and notable to present, to show people, to have them come in and have their experience, their wisdom, workshops. had to be exposed to Black, deaf people and people of color.
Okay. Wow. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. It's truly, truly, really been helpful to all of us. And I know you've all been, struggling along with this as being a student. And again, but the fight for safety, we do have to start within. And I've noticed some of you, have mentioned, a few things, and we have to mention it, and we've over and over and over again, and we've been doing that for a while with the protests, and now clear up until today. And we've been doing this for many years, but still no change. So how can we as a community trust the leadership that is supposed to be responsible and hold them responsible for taking these actions? What can we do to make the university leadership actually listen and take action to make that change happen now and continuously? So you don't have to be afraid of this kind of thing happening again. Anyone? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. This is just an open discussion. We're all having certain thought processes.
So really, this is Delricia. So many people have, come together, but not just Black people. Everyone, every different kinds of people have a voice. And the university, we need their attention. And, they don't want us to like sue or have protests or anything like that. We must have action and, have the right leadership. For example, deaf president now, they listen to that. But what about us? As Black leaders, we get shunned aside. It's important. So I just feel like, hello, we are Black. Black lives matter. We're important. And I just get so upset about that. Where's the leadership? We have protests and actions, and we keep, asking 3 or 4 times and working so hard. But deaf president now, it was easy. There was just all this unity through the entire situation. You got what you wanted. But for us, we want to win. We want that justice as well. Just to let them know it's not easy. You have to work 3 or 4 times harder. So that's just how I feel.
Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah, that is a good point you raise. I have noticed that with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's a requirement that we all come together as a whole. And a lot of people have been oppressed throughout history. So we've all experienced it. We recognize it. Different parts of the world, they've experienced it as well. But currently, I'm noticing the change that is starting to happen. But maybe, I guess now it's that time for us to scream it and have people involved with our leadership. Would you,
Yeah.
you all have been doing a wonderful job, a fantastic job of fighting and making that message heard, supporting it with facts and evidence for that change. Yolanda?
Yeah. So in the past, with white protests, like for example, Ruby Bridges, the Black girl that was integrating the schools, and the white people were protesting. They were all supporting, but there were really no Black people supporting her, just white people out there support, that day protesting. And finally, there started to have some change with diversity. And later, I've noticed over and over again that Black people protesting, there's like just a little bit, as opposed to before, white people would protest a lot and they would get a lot of support. But with, other issues, it's like there would be white power, more power in the white protest than the Black. And, before we would really, support with a lot of people and a lot of protests. And some, I don't know, but some Black people are involved, with that. But now we're trying to be fair with them, have more protests than us in the Black protests. So we need to be fair. We have to protest a lot, and we're suffering. We're going through a lot. So that we just need to not push aside. We really have to open our mouths and protest and say something and speak out. It's not like it's no big deal. We have to keep fighting for it until we're all cohesive and we're all together. I was just thinking about that. In the past, there was a lot of protests compared to now, but now that it's growing, you're seeing a lot of more protests, you know?
Yeah, I can understand. I can. People have, been trying and encouraging people for the peaceful conversations. Again, with the leadership at Gallaudet University, that they need to listen to their students and their staff of color and people of color, but all the people that are experiencing this in the LGBTQ community, hard of hearing, deaf, everyone, everyone's voice should be heard equally. And that is my hope that that will happen before we need to have a protest. That's the last thing you all want to do, right? Especially now with the coronavirus is still there, it's still a thing. So the Black Lives Matter movement hopefully continues to progress, continue to push for peaceful resolution. That is the goal. Papa, did you raise your hand? Oh, no, no.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. Oh, I did. As an ally, when Black people do something and have action, especially for an ally, people they look at the ally. Oh, yeah, I'm going to support you guys, but we don't need the help. You know, we don't need the attention on the ally. We need the attention on the Black community. You don't want people to take over and steal their idea or anything. No way. No. Allies should be kind of behind the group, to be supportive. And we thank you for their support. We already have white privilege and all of these things. We don't want the attention on the ally. We need the attention on the Black community. It's our time. It's our turn for now. That's my comment.
Okay. Anyone else want to add a last comment before we wrap up this discussion?
I'll
Bobga?
say something. For Black youth who are really kind of clueless about things like I was before, we have to encourage them to do their work, do their research, discuss, have conversations about this. And you do that, the more knowledge you have, and the more you're able to educate others who don't know a lot of information about American history or Black history. So that's important to help educate and support others. It's important.
Okay, thank you. JC? I guess my last comment would be Black people and Black deaf people. Don't just kind of murmur amongst yourselves. You need to start having everyone come together and have an actual sit down conversation about the movement, what we can do in the future, but as a group. So we need to force to the system, all this going back and forth and nothing really happening. And then it becomes, again, like I was talking before, like those small little cliques. We need to expand ourselves. Our group of people needs to grow in numbers. So we will have to then force the system. It's very important for Black deaf people. We need to sit down and work together and make a change. That's the only way it's going to happen if we all come together in mass. Get your feelings out there. We can figure out a resolution and what we're going to do in the future. We're talking about discrimination and different things. And no, 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 no. Don't worry about all of those other things. You can listen and you can learn things, analyze yourselves, analyze the situation. And if you see someone else that should be involved, you tell them, come on and join. Join the fight with us. We're all fighting the same struggle. We all want the same rights, equality. So we have the right to work together, join together. So that's my thoughts on that.
That's good that you brought that up to that point, and that background, everything that's happening. maybe we're not awake to, that people are in controlling the system. People are controlling the system. And so my background is from Africa, and I've experienced colonialization, Europe taking over Africa, and how, they've taken over, that division. They divide the community first, and they argue amongst themselves, and we crash. We become weak. So I'm happy you are, awake to notice that. Yes, it's dangerous. It's very well planned distraction, for us to be able to take down the system for that racism. So we need to come together and focus on our goal, not just, for us to remember that, but for all of us, our children, everyone, and the next generation, to hope that we can demand clarity and have leadership for schools, create safety and inclusion and the space for everyone, where it doesn't matter where they're from, if they flying in from, better education or different families or make new friends, but growth as an individual and become a leader. That's what we all want. So thank you again for all of you joining us in this discussion. I think we've run out of time. So I will wrap up with a thank you to our sponsors and people working behind the scenes. Sean Forbes, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's
And
these
Ro and
interpreters here,
Asher.
plus Convo Communications helped us all work this all out. And everyone that's been partnering with us. Please, we have more events coming soon. And again, remember, stay focused. Let's work together to work towards this goal, to have this, commonality against the enemy. And who is that? This system against racism. So we can take down that system and throw it out, and we can have a clear path and have safety and inclusion every day. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.